receivers.
I know Todd wasn't happy with the interceptions last week during the OTA practice. Reporters were loud, and we saw a couple today. So, what's your message when you see the ball bouncing off guys?
Yeah, I think it's honestly what I just said. I mean, we got to make the ordinary plays all the time, and that's the consistency we're going to be chasing out here in practice, so that it translates on Sundays.
So you guys are at the point now, obviously. So how do you feel the quarterback competition is going right now at this halfway point of OTA?
Yeah, I think that both of those.
Nobody's talking about the real problem in Cleveland. Everyone's watching the QB tracker. Everyone's counting touchdowns and completions. Everyone's comparing Shedeur Sanders to Deshaun Watson like it's a simple math problem. But here's what people aren't saying out loud. What happens when a quarterback is doing everything right and nobody around him can hold on to the ball? Because that's exactly what's unfolding at Brown's OTAs right now. And the fact that the offensive coordinator had to address it publicly, that's not just a footnote, that's a signal. And suddenly, this isn't just a quarterback competition anymore.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you guys see our practice. Half of it, we're split in two fields anyway, so they get both, which is awesome. And then it's almost been dead even as far as rotating those guys with the groups, and getting familiarity with the receivers in each one of those groups is a big part of that, too.
In terms of Shedeur, what have you seen from his progress just on the field from what you saw in film coming in?
I mean, I'll only speak to what I've seen. When I wasn't here last year, I'll only speak to what I've seen over the last couple weeks, and his progress has been impressive. Just his ability to move through progressions, his feet are getting more, and he's ready to throw when he needs to more consistently. We can continue to grow there, but...
Let's go back to last year for a second. Shedeur Sanders enters Cleveland as a rookie, drafted to compete, immediately facing one of the most pressure-packed quarterback situations in the entire NFL. The offensive line was a mess, the play calling was inconsistent, and yet, the kid competed. He showed flashes, real flashes, not just arm talent, composure, the kind you can't coach. But the narrative around him never fully shifted. Why? Because results didn't match the potential. And in the NFL, optics are everything. Fast forward to OTAs 2025. New offensive coordinator Travis Switzer. New system. New hope. Shedeur comes in with something to prove, and by all accounts, by the OTA tracker, by what reporters are seeing, he is throwing the football. So why does the story feel like it's moving against him? Because his receivers can't catch it.
Guys.
Me personally, I'm glad that offensive coordinator Travis Switzer was asked about the dropping issue, especially coming from Shedeur Sanders, especially after hitting these wide receivers where they need to be hit at. As we can see, the QB tracker, Shedeur Sanders, 8 of 14, 1 TD. Deshaun Watson pretty much was the quarterback up today, 11 of 17, 6 total touchdowns, 1 interception. Pretty much led the quarterbacks today. He had the better day when it comes to the competition. Moving forward.
The QB tracker tells an interesting story. Shedeur Sanders, 8 of 14 with a touchdown. Deshaun Watson, 11 of 17, 6 total touchdowns, 1 interception. On the surface, Watson won the day. That's the headline. But here's what people missed. Reporters watching OTAs noted drops, multiple drops, passes hitting receivers in the hands, gone. And it wasn't subtle. It was visible enough that a reporter asked Travis Switzer directly about it. And Schwitzer's answer? We've got to make the ordinary plays all the time. That's the consistency we're chasing. Read between the lines there. He's not just talking about the offense in general. He's responding to a specific pattern that everyone in that building is watching. When a coordinator has to publicly address drops at OTAs before training camp even begins, something is festering. Then Jeudy steps up to the mic, and what does he say? He says Deshaun Watson looks a lot more confident, a lot more comfortable, better arm strength, more like himself. Not a single mention of Shedeur's throws being impressive. That's not an accident.
Physically, how does Deshaun look right now compared to like 2024 training camp and he was still coming up?
Oh, he looked a lot more confident, a lot more comfortable, just having those days, giving his time to prepare himself mentally and physically. He coming out here looking real good.
And what's anything different in his arm strength just from, in 2024, he was just coming right off of that surgery and now it just seems like he's hitting the long ball.
Yeah, like I said, he looked a lot more comfortable. Now he's a lot more healthy again. That last year, having that time off, and, just being able to grind during the summer and work on his body, work on his mental, he's a lot better for sure.
In what ways have you seen Shedeur grow from last year?
Just being more comfortable, and being more comfortable, being more confident, and that comes with repetition. Having that first year to that second year jump, you can see him out here on the field just being a lot more comfortable, confident, and in command.
And I know it's still early, obviously. You're talking about the new offense and new concepts and how it benefits you. How do you think that could benefit both Shedeur and Deshaun?
Like I said, just being able.
Here's where it gets deeper than football. Shedeur Sanders is in a psychologically brutal position right now, and I don't think people fully appreciate what that means. Last year, he was fighting the offensive line, fighting for snaps, fighting for credibility. This year, same fight, different enemy. Now, it's his own receivers. Think about what that does to a young quarterback's confidence loop. You drop back, you read the defense, you go through progressions, you put the ball exactly where it needs to be, and it hits the ground. The stat sheet doesn't say receiver drop, it just shows an incompletion, and the completion percentage next to Shedeur Sanders' name takes down. But here's what the cameras can't fully capture: how he's responding to it. Is he getting frustrated on the sideline? Is he keeping guys accountable? Is he leading, or is the moment shrinking him? And that's where the competition gets psychological, because Deshaun Watson, whatever you think of his personal history, is a 10-year veteran who's been in pressure situations most quarterbacks will never experience. He knows how to perform when the lights are brightest. Shedeur Sanders is 22 years old, still learning what pressure feels like at this level. The question isn't just who throws better, it's who leads better when everything is going sideways. Now let's talk about what the Browns are actually doing, not saying, doing. Travis Switzer wouldn't name a starter, completely dodged the question. Both guys are progressing, we're pleased, no one's ahead. Classic organizational non-answer, but the phrasing matters. Because what he didn't say is, Shedeur is our guy. He didn't give him the signal of confidence that a franchise typically gives to its heir apparent. And then there's Jeudy, a wide receiver the Browns locked in as their bell cow, spending a significant portion of his media availability praising Deshaun Watson's arm strength and confidence, not Shedeur. Now add this detail. Jeudy confirmed he was working out privately with Watson down in Florida this offseason, building timing, building chemistry, two professionals putting in extra work together. Where was Shedeur in that equation? The Browns brought in new receivers, Denzel and Casey, specifically to create more weapons. But if those same weapons are dropping the ball during Shedeur's reps and catching cleanly during Watson's, the organizational math starts to feel less neutral than they're publicly claiming. And suddenly, the question isn't just who's ahead, it's whether the environment is even level. Let's zoom out, because this is bigger than OTAs. The Browns have one of the most watched quarterback competitions in the entire league right now. National media is paying attention, the fan base is divided, and the ownership group, which spent a record-breaking amount of guaranteed money on Deshaun Watson, has a financial incentive to see him succeed that no one wants to say out loud. If Shedeur Sanders wins this competition, it means one of the most expensive contracts in NFL history officially failed. That's an organizational reckoning. If Deshaun Watson wins this competition, you have a player coming back from multiple surgeries, a complicated public image, and a question mark still hanging over whether he can stay healthy through a full season. Neither outcome is clean. But what makes this moment so fascinating is that Shedeur Sanders, the kid who wasn't supposed to be here, who was drafted not to start, who was essentially brought in as a developmental piece, is making this a real competition. His receivers are dropping his passes, his stats are slightly below Watson's, the coordinator isn't handing him the keys, and yet the conversation keeps coming back to him. That's not a coincidence. That's a player forcing his way into a narrative the organization didn't fully plan for. Remember how this started. A QB tracker showing numbers, a few drops, an offensive coordinator choosing his words carefully at a podium. That's all it was on the surface.
But underneath, a 22-year-old quarterback with elite arm talent and 0 receivers catching his football. A 10-year veteran rebuilding his confidence and his reputation with the full support of a $230 million investment behind him. And an organization carefully, quietly, watching to see which one of them is willing to fight hardest for what's theirs. The drops will get cleaned up. Training camp will sharpen everything. But the psychological scoreboard, that one's already running. And the quarterback nobody thought would compete, the one who's catching passes with his voice and not his hands, is making the entire city of Cleveland think twice.